Hello and welcome back to Sprite Guard Plays HyperRogue. This is the new version 7.2 and we are going to head out into it and see the new content. Xeno is now adding content to this game faster than I can beat it, so it's going to be an interesting time. Partly that's because I've been getting very busy recently and kind of been pulled between a whole bunch of different things. Thinking about a lot of stuff outside of the channel, trying to get into Twitch, getting more involved with that community. It's been a crazy busy time. There are good things happening, bad things happening, and I don't really know where it's all going to take me, but I'm very excited to find out. So the first change we can actually see pretty much immediately, or as soon as I can find my way to it. And we're going to have to engage in quite a lot of combat along the way, because I have not been good about being proactive. I have talked in the past about how I really need to be proactive about combat. So here is the first big change, is that the Land of Eternal Motion is now actually a starting area. And we have some combat giving us some trouble. Going to have some trouble getting in here to begin with. So yeah, I think this is a really cool move. It creates a little bit more variety at the beginning of the game, and it introduces some kind of more diversity in the early areas in a way that is not too challenging, but that is still kind of introduces some new mechanics that are a little bit more evocative of the geometry. Kind of the starting areas don't really show off what's so interesting about the geometry in a really obvious way, and this area does so in a little bit more of a direct way because of just kind of the properties that you can run in a straight line and the dogs can't keep up with you, and that you can run in a crooked line and never run into your trail. That kind of stuff is really starting to give a taste to new players of what is really going on in this game. And at the same time, for people like me, it's a very it's an area that is very fast to clear, and so it can actually make the early game go a little bit faster. We still need 10 more gems to unlock the next area, so I'm going to pick those up. Maybe work on my speedrun technique a little bit. I have been working on this hypothesis that version 6.6 might be a good version to speedrun, because in the speedrunning community in general, there is this idea that whatever version of the game is the fastest is the one that you should be speedrunning. And so my hypothesis is basically that because the Icyland glitch was patched out of version 7.1, that version 6.6 may actually be a faster version, and now that I have the wheel spinning technique down a little bit better, I want to try it out and see if I can get a better run in 6.6 than I can in 7.2. There are some things that have been changed in 7.1 and 7.2 that may make it faster, so I don't actually know that 6.6 will be faster, but it's something that I would like to check out, and so I will be kind of looking into that. So this is the next new area. It is the Living Fjord. It follows the same logic as the Living Cave, but instead of walls and floors, it is water and ground. And we have these Vikings that will sail up and attack us. And as we gather these treasures, we will unlock 2 new orbs, one native and one that I believe is the Whirlpool's native orb, though I don't know that, because I have never cleared the Whirlpool. And I have caused some kind of interesting visual glitching by using the mouse wheel inappropriately. So Sorry about that. Alright, we need 2 more garnets, and we are seeing... so, the trolls in this area are slightly different. They raise up the floor and create floor around them, so they actually increase the amount of space that you have to walk around. They also do not destroy items. Now these are the water elementals, and kind of similar to the earth elementals, they create water around them and kind of clear away a space, and they will destroy your boat. And so I have lost a few runs to being in a boat and being chased by a water elemental, and it caught up to me and destroyed my boat, and I drowned. So there's actually an orb in this area that will help with that, and we need 1 more gem before we are even going to be able to get it. So let us now see if we can spawn one of these orbs. And here comes a water elemental. Gonna have to fight it off. And I do kind of want to stay close to this crossroads because there is one more really interesting area that we do want to see. And so, as much as I want to show off the orbs for this area, I also kind of want to show off the other new area. So this is the Orb of Water. This is the one that I think is the Whirlpool orb, because it allows you to go against the current, and it will enchant whatever boat you get into. And so the boat will actually create water around it and will be protected against the elementals. And so that is one of the things that will help us out. The other orb that we got is the Orb of the Fish. This orb lets you dive into the water. While diving, you are able to see and collect underwater treasures while being invisible to monsters yourself. You are afraid of jumping into the water straight from a boat, so usually you won't do it. So that just means we can sail around in a boat like usual. And the Orb of Water has actually worn off now, so we can take a dive in the water, and you can see we can now see garnets around us, and we can swim around and pick them up. So that's very good if you're going for a garnet high score. And it's useful because it's another way of protecting yourself from the water elementals. So let us see if we can find the next new area, and the next new area is a pretty interesting, exciting one. Here it is. This is the palace. So what do we have going on here? So we have these Hypersian rings that we can pick up, and we have these trapdoors that will shut all of the doors around them. So that will... The red ones close, there are pressure plates that close the doors around them. The green ones open doors around them. And the gray ones are actually trapdoors. And so those will open up, and we can actually stun guards and have them fall in. So combat in the palace is really different. It's really interesting. A lot of the monsters here actually have hit points, which is something that I have praised this game for not having in the past. And so this is really a new and interesting thing. So this guard had 3 hit points. We hit it once, and that stunned it, knocked it back, and took it down to 2 hit points. The number of stars around it and the number at the top of the screen will both tell you kind of how stunned the guard is and how long it will be stunned. And we can basically stun lock them in order to defeat them. But once you have a few of them ganging up on you, it becomes much more difficult to stun lock them. And these switches only affect doors that are within a certain radius of them. And so sometimes you can actually end up in a situation where it's hard to tell how you would open a particular door at all. So here we can kind of let these guys come up to us and fight them off one at a time. And just keep pushing them back. And there's actually an even more interesting monster in this area that we will get to fight a little bit later. And we'll actually end up using some of the subtler properties of this area. So if there's a wall behind a guard, you can actually stun lock them and they will stay right next to you and you don't even have to go up to them. And what do we have 11 of? We have 11 garnets and only 8 rings. So we need one more ring, and it looks like we can open up this door and head through it. And here is a skeleton. So skeletons are impossible to kill in the usual fashion. And I want to fight off that guard. Okay, so what can we do? We can stun these guys, and we can knock them onto trapdoors, and then they will fall into them. And that is how you can defeat a skeleton, but there's no way that you can kill them. They will always just keep recovering from their stun and coming back at you. So that's an interesting new mechanic. And it's actually, it is made a little bit easier to deal with in that if there are no trapdoors around, the skeletons will actually, there's still a way for you to defeat them. They will basically get knocked back so hard that they'll be stunned for a really long time. And so, that was a mistake. Okay, I want to open that one, and then that one. And no, that doesn't actually get me where I want to go. I'm trying to get into that crossroads, and we're just not seeing enough openable doors, and so we're going to have to try and go someplace else. So yeah, because the skeletons are impossible to defeat unless you're in either the palace or the Land of Eternal Motion, basically if you're not in either of those places, they will just become so stunned that you can run away from them and get out of their aggro range. And so here is what I was talking about when you have more of them on you at one time. They become a little bit more challenging to deal with. And I believe as we kind of get more and more treasure, we start getting more and more powerful guards, and we can even get some kind of more mini-boss-like creatures that are a little bit challenging and have some interesting rewards associated. So the orb of this area is the Orb of the Frog, which I know, at someone's suggestion, I have set it up so that I actually have to press Shift in order to use it. And, okay, so now we have one of the guards that we're going to deal with, which is the Fat Guard. And you don't knock him back, but we can stun him and make him fall into the pit. So that didn't really show off very much about him. There's also, when you have them on these heptagons, you can use the side of the heptagon that you click on to determine which direction they go in. So if I want to push this guy toward the skeleton, I can click on that side of the heptagon. And then I can basically just keep swatting these guys away. Eventually I will kill that guard. And then we have to pretty quickly, so there you can see the Fat Guard does not get pushed back. And then we can push that skeleton into a trapdoor. So there's one more kind of mini-boss-ish creature that I am looking for, and I have not seen yet. It may have been that I actually fought one and didn't realize it, but I think that we have not seen one yet. So we can pick up some of these Orbs of the Frog, and that will let us... So it just lets you jump over 2 spaces, which is... So it's like a weaker Orb of Teleport that costs less. And we are going to just continue making our way through the world, continue looking for the mini-boss-ish creature that I have mentioned, and just continue not seeing it, I guess. So I think the palace is a really neat creation. There's a lot of interesting stuff, and a lot of it is very challenging to deal with. Especially when you get into the more difficult creatures and the kind of the interactions. I like the interactions between the doors and the trapdoors and the pressure plates. And I think it creates a really interesting scenario. I don't find it especially difficult, but there's so much to play around with that... One thing that I talk about sometimes is you know, what is enough is just to have something that is interesting to play around with. That you don't actually always need to have something that is very difficult to deal with. If you have something that is fun to play around with. And the palace very much kind of fits into that category of thing. I really wish we would run into a vizier, though, because it's a little bit frustrating that we haven't seen one, and we haven't really seen an opportunity to get out of the palace. And, like, here, again, we have kind of so much stuff blocking our way that... Here we go, we can actually get out this way. It is really disappointing that we have not seen a vizier yet, though, because they have some interesting rewards associated with them. I have not yet tested what the effects of the Orb of Flash are, what things they destroy. Like, do they break down doors? Oh my goodness, they break down everything and turn it into rubble. That is pretty cool. So that is a new piece of information that I did not have, and now I think that it is probably time to save and wrap this up, and in the next episode we will start exploring some more of the mid-game, start trying to get some of the endgame conditions met. So I hope that you will join me for that. There are still some things that are new that we will be looking at. We will be looking for a vizier, we will be looking to get, let's see, I think we've gotten all of the new orbs, actually, so a vizier is the only thing that we'll be looking to take down, and then probably we will be looking to try and conquer the whirlpool again. Probably going straight into that. So that is what is coming up. I hope that you will join me in the future. And we will also, right now, be looking at one of the kind of big positive new changes, is that because the Land of Eternal Motion is a starting area, you now have Orbs of Safety available much earlier on. And we've actually already gotten 100 kills, and so the Graveyard is available to us very early on. So, all of that and more has been changed. Well, actually, I think all of the other changes have been fairly subtle, but there's still a lot for us to see, there's still a lot for us to try. We probably are going to go through the minefield in order to get lots of Orbs of Friendship, so that we can have lots of friends going into the whirlpool. So that's the plan. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.